Have you, like me, ever wished that God would just make everything we're supposed to believe clear? So that you wouldn't need faith? Because faith is such a shaky thing, you know? Why can't God just make things clear? Because with the system we have now, we get into issues all the time. Whenever a non-believer or an atheist asks us for proof of something, we wind up not being able to provide it, and then we feel foolish, and we feel like we let God down. So since God exists, why can't everything just be clear? There is a story often told about a little fish that lived in the Atlantic, and everywhere he would swim, he would ask whoever he met, "Which way to the ocean?" He always asked the same question, "Which way to the ocean?" So he went up to an octopus and said, "Which way to the ocean?" And the octopus blew him off because that's ridiculous. So then he went over to some coral and he said, "Which way to the ocean?" And the coral said, "You're there. This is it. We're in the ocean." And the little fish said, "This? No. This is just water. I'm looking for the ocean." And off he went to try to find the ocean. We're a lot like that little fish sometimes, aren't we? We're asking, "Where is God? Where is God? I can't find God." Meanwhile, we're in God. We're surrounded by God in every way. We couldn't live without God being right here. One poet has said that God is like the thread in a string of pearls. God is what makes a necklace, but it's the part that you can't see. There are a lot of religions that believe in God, but Christianity is the only one that says something particular about God. A lot of religions say God is loving. God is really loving. The Jews say that the Lord is loving and kind and merciful. The Muslims have a name for God, Al-Wadud, which means the kind and loving one. But of all those religions, we are the only one who doesn't just say that God is loving. We go a little further. We say God is love. You've all heard that. That's in the scriptures over and over. God is love. So when we say that, we're saying that God is, among many other things, a force. God is a force that is operating all around us and that we participate in. God is love. So now you may be saying, wait a second. I went to Sunday school my whole life, and we were taught that we are made in God's image. So how can God be a force? We're supposed to be made in the image of God. So doesn't God look like us? But if you think about it for a second, saying that because we're in the image of God means God is supposed to look like us would mean that we're saying that God is made in our image. You don't give the child the credit for what the mother looks like. So it's not God who's made in our image. We're made in God's image. And what we say on Trinity Sunday is that, among other things, God is a force. God is a relationship. God is that love that exists between the Father, the Son, and the Spirit, and that spills out into us. So, remember that first question? Why can't we just see God? Why can't it all be clear? Well, we actually can. If we want to see God, we have to look at our relationships. God is there. God is love. Now, if you go to a spiritual director, they are going to tell you something rather uncomfortable that all of us have to deal with. They are going to say, you cannot go any farther in your relationship with God than you can go in your most mature human relationship here. That's the limit of how far we can go with God. We can't go one bit farther than we've gone in a human relationship. Which is really interesting, because that means that if we have faith trouble, and all of us have it at some point, if we get into faith trouble and we find ourselves saying, I'm having trouble with my beliefs, I'm not feeling secure, a good place for us to look is at our relationships. When we're having trouble with our faith in God, we might ask, is there somebody in my life that is messing this up, that's getting the necklace all tangled? Is there somebody I can't forgive? Is there a resentment that I have that I am not moving past, that I nurse or think about all the time? Because God is love. So if our relationships get tangled, so does our relationship with God. So it feels to me that the scriptures are making it clear that this week our homework is that we need to start reflecting on our relationships by asking ourselves, who is that person that is our most mature human relationship? Who's the person that we've got the most mature relationship with? Because looking at that is going to tell us how far we're able to go with God. Now, a lot of you might immediately think of your spouse, and that might be true for you, but it might not. And remember, there's a lot of us here, me included, who are single, and so we can't look to a spouse for our most mature relationship. Maybe it's with a child, maybe an adult child that you have. Maybe it's with your best friend. Whoever it is, it's going to be the person that you go to with things that you wouldn't bring to someone else. They're the ones that you bring your shame to. When you do something really crazy or messed up, they're the ones that you go to and say, I can't believe I did this. And you know that they'll tell you if you're wrong, but they're not going to use that as an excuse to say that you're a bad person. They're going to understand the bigger picture of you. It's probably somebody that you've had to get over something with at some point in your life. It's probably someone that you've had to forgive or that's had to forgive you. Now, if you're feeling really brave this week, there's another step to this homework you can do. You could think of, who is the person in my life that I love the least? Because when we look at who we love the least, whoever we resent the most, have the most issue with, wish that they weren't in our lives, that's when we come in contact with the edge of our love. Whoever we can't forgive or tolerate, that's as far as our love can go. It blocks a wall there. That's the horizon line. So if we're looking for some hard homework this week, we could look at that relationship and ask, how could I move that horizon a little further out? How could I make the limit of my love not as close to me as it is now, but make it go a little further? Maybe there's an ex that I need to forgive, or someone who really hurt me or wronged me, or a coworker who's just always difficult. And I need to figure out how I can move that love boundary a little further out. Because if God is love, wherever there isn't love, we're messing up our relationship with God. There was that little fish swimming all around the ocean, looking for the ocean, not realizing that he was in it. He was part of it. Trinity Sunday helps us to realize that's just like us. We're swimming around looking for God, but God is what allows us to be here. We're in it. We're part of God. God is love. In God we live and move and have our being. So if we want to see God, let's look for God in our relationships, because God is love.